In the heart of Africa lies a vast wildlife sanctuary, a place where the golden savannas stretch endlessly under the wide sky. The sanctuary is home to a remarkable array of creatures, each uniquely adapted to the challenges of the land. Among these inhabitants, a pride of lions roams the open plains, their presence both awe-inspiring and commanding. These lions have made the sanctuary their kingdom, their strong and graceful bodies a symbol of the wild beauty that thrives here. One particular lion stood out in the pride, a young, energetic cub with an insatiable thirst for adventure. The young lion's coat was golden, its eyes filled with a spark of curiosity that never seemed to fade. Unlike the others, who had already mastered the art of the hunt, this young lion was still learning, eager to prove itself. Its paws were still soft, its movements less sure, but every day it grew stronger, more capable, and filled with the desire to chase down its place in the world. This morning, the pride gathered for a hunt, and the young lion's heart raced with excitement. It was time for the first real test. The prey would not be a small, harmless creature, but a mighty antelope, a swift and powerful animal that could outrun most predators with ease. It was a challenge the pride would need to approach with strategy and precision. The young lion watched the others intently, learning the rhythms of the hunt, its muscles taut with anticipation. As the pride moved into position, the young lion joined the chase, its paws hitting the earth with an eager determination. The wind whipped through its mane, and it felt the adrenaline surge through its veins. The antelope, sensing the danger, bolted forward, its strong legs carrying it with incredible speed. The young lion's eyes locked on its target, its focus narrowing to the sprint ahead. Its heart pounded as it ran, a powerful rush that made the savanna seem to blur around it. The pride worked as one, the older lions moving with careful coordination, blocking escape routes and steering the antelope into a trap. The young lion was at the forefront, its body moving with a grace that matched the urgency of the moment. It was almost there. The antelope, exhausted and desperate, attempted to weave through the grass, but the young lion was relentless. It was within reach, its breath coming in short gasps as the distance between them closed. But in its zealous pursuit, the young lion failed to see the hidden danger ahead. The savanna's thick grass had concealed an old, abandoned barbed wire fence, an artifact of a time long gone, now covered by the earth's overgrowth. With a sudden, jarring crash, the young lion collided with the sharp metal, its body ensnared in the cruel wire. The pain was immediate and sharp, its body twisting as the barbs dug deep into its flesh. The lion's roar pierced the air, a cry filled with agony and surprise. It struggled wildly, its muscles straining, but every movement seemed to make the situation worse. The barbed wire held tight, cutting deeper into its skin. The other lions, hearing the desperate cry of their companion, turned back, panic rising in their chests. They rushed toward the source of the sound, their hearts heavy with dread. When they saw their fellow lion caught in the wire, fear washed over them. They circled the trapped lion, their eyes filled with concern, but hesitation gripped them. The wire was sharp, dangerous. None of them wanted to risk being ensnared as well. The young lion's breath grew shallow, its body trembling as it writhed in pain. It could feel its strength draining, its will to escape faltering. Each pull on the wire only seemed to cause more damage, and as it looked up at the pride, a silent plea filled its eyes. The pride watched helplessly, their instinct to protect and save fighting with their fear of the danger the wire posed. They could do nothing but stand at a distance, the tension between them and their trapped kin thick in the air. Time seemed to stand still as the young lion's cries echoed through the savanna. Its body lay twisted and caught, each breath coming slower. as if the weight of the situation were too much to bear. The rest of the pride, once so confident and powerful in their unity, could do nothing but wait, helpless against the cruel twist of fate. As the young lion lay trapped in the barbed wire, its breaths shallow and ragged, the savanna felt eerily quiet. The usual hum of life, the chirps of birds and rustle of leaves in the breeze, was drowned out by the lion's painful cries. The pride, unable to help, hovered at a distance, their hearts heavy with helplessness. Fear gnawed at them, fear for their injured companion, but also fear of the danger posed by the wire. They had never encountered anything like this before. It was in this moment of tense silence that a distant sound broke through the stillness. The roar of an engine, faint at first, grew louder and louder until a small vehicle appeared in the distance, cutting through the tall grass. A group of tourists in a safari jeep on a guided tour of the sanctuary approached the scene. Their guide, a seasoned conservationist named Thomas, noticed the tension in the air immediately. He had grown up in this sanctuary, understanding the rhythms of nature like the back of his hand. The sight of the lions in distress wasn't new to him, but he could see the severity of the situation. "Stop the car," Thomas instructed calmly, his voice steady but urgent. The tourists in the vehicle were visibly nervous, unsure of what was happening and unsure of their safety. They whispered anxiously among themselves, glancing nervously at the pride of lions that had gathered around the injured lion. Thomas noticed their unease and reassured them with a confident smile. "Don't worry, I know these lions. They won't harm you." The tourists watched with wide eyes as Thomas got out of the vehicle, his boots crunching softly against the dry earth. He approached the pride with slow, deliberate steps, his body language relaxed, signaling no threat. The lions watched him carefully, but made no move to stop him. They had seen him before. Thomas had spent his entire life in the sanctuary, building a unique connection with the animals. As he neared the injured lion, Thomas could hear its soft, agonizing groans. His heart sank, but he knew what had to be done. The young lion was in pain, and time was running out. He reached into his bag and pulled out a pair of specialized rescue pliers, tools designed to safely remove dangerous debris from animals without causing further harm. He crouched down carefully beside the lion, making sure not to make any sudden movements that might startle it or the rest of the pride. The other lions watched intently, their golden eyes fixed on Thomas. They were clearly nervous, but their curiosity won over their fear. Thomas spoke softly, as though speaking to old friends. His voice was calm, soothing, and filled with years of experience working with wild animals. He had rescued many creatures over the years, but this was personal. The lion's body trembled, but it seemed to trust Thomas as he began to work, gently maneuvering the pliers to cut away the first piece of the barbed wire. Each time the pliers snipped a wire, the young lion groaned, its body stiffening with pain, but it did not lash out. Thomas worked carefully, every movement deliberate, his hands steady despite the urgency of the situation. The sweat on his forehead glistened in the heat of the day, but his focus never wavered. He stroked the lion's fur gently between cuts, speaking softly to reassure it, even though the lion couldn't understand his words. It felt like hours had passed, but in reality, it was only 15 minutes before Thomas finally managed to remove the last piece of wire. The young lion was covered in scratches and bruises, blood staining its fur, but it was free. Slowly, it tried to rise, its legs shaky but strong enough to support its weight. It stood, swaying slightly, then took a cautious step forward. The pride, sensing the young lion was safe, approached with gentle steps, sniffing and nuzzling their kin. They surrounded the injured lion, offering a protective presence as if to say, "We are here." Thomas stepped back, allowing the young lion to regain its footing. The pride moved in closer, the injured lion's pain slowly subsiding as its strength returned. Thomas didn't move, only watched, a soft smile playing at the corners of his lips. The tourists in the jeep were amazed, their eyes wide with awe at the connection between the man and the lions. They had witnessed something extraordinary, a rare and beautiful moment of harmony between humans and nature. The young lion looked up at Thomas, its eyes meeting his with a quiet recognition. It couldn't speak, but in its gaze, Thomas saw gratitude, something deeper than words could ever convey. The lion gave a low, soft growl, as if acknowledging the man who had saved its life. With that, the pride began to move off, guiding the young lion back into the savannah, away from the danger. Thomas walked back to the jeep, still holding the rescue pliers in his hand, his clothes stained with blood from the lion's wounds. He smiled at the tourists who were still in shock. "Let's continue our journey," he said calmly, as if saving a lion was just another part of the day's work. The tourists, still processing what they had just witnessed, nodded in disbelief. They would never forget the courage and compassion they had seen in Thomas, and they began to ask him about his life in the sanctuary. Thomas smiled softly as he explained how he had grown up alongside these lions, earning their trust and respect over many years. His connection with them was a symbol of the delicate balance between humanity and the wild. From that day on, the lions followed Thomas whenever he drove through the savannah, a living testament to the bond that had been formed between them. The tourists who visited the sanctuary would always speak of Thomas as the friend of the lions, a title that would live on long after they left. The young lion, fully recovered, never forgot the man who had saved its life, and the pride remained a symbol of the beauty of coexistence and the power of compassion.